Jakarta tidak bisa dipisahkan dari kawasan Kota Tua di utara Jakarta yang merupakan cikal bakal Jakarta metropolitan.
Kesan tak terurus, terbengkalai, dan terpinggirkan menjadi stempel bagi siapapun yang mengenal kawasan Kota Tua di Jakarta.
Pemprov DKI melakukan revitalisasi Kota Tua dan ingin menjadikan tempat wisata sebagai andalan Jakarta.
Revitalisasi kawasan Kota Tua seluas 334 hektar terdiri atas 5 zona.
Gedung-gedung khususnya museum juga akan ada tampilan baru dengan ada pengecatan ulang, penataan tata pamernya, displaynya gitu kan.
Tapi apakah proyek ambisius ini bisa menjadi angin segar untuk membenahi kawasan bersejarah di ibu kota?
For analyzing scope of economic project, there are some key areas of economic analysis. First, country context analysis. A project cannot be isolated from the wider development context of borrowing country. Kota Tua preserves not only its precious history and buildings, but has remained as an urban development backwater. While Jakarta is expecting major residential waterfront development including expansion and modernization its harbor, Kota Tua sits geographically in the middle ground between the city's current administrative center near the National Monument or Monas and the Presidential Palace. Kota Tua thus possesses a locational advantage important to its revitalization. A Kota Tua revitalization program was recently inaugurated by the Governor of Jakarta. This, together with the recent endorsement of the master plan for the whole of Jakarta, raise Kota Tua's profile, both within the greater Jakarta and the country. This is the welcome development since Kota Tua fate remained uncertain during previous decades. Building owners and investors are thus eagerly awaiting for the details of the new government policies toward Kota Tua, which in itself acknowledges both industry, historical, and cultural importance as well as its development potential. The second is sector analysis. Sector analysis is critical to understanding binding constraint to the effective functioning of a constrained sector, why a project is proposed, and how it helps address the sector constraint. Sector constraint can be related policy and incentive, the relevant legal and regulatory framework, or physical infrastructure. Sector analysis also involves of the examination of 5 points. Due to heritage laws, Jakarta's Kota Tua has escaped numerous threats of destruction via urban renewal programs based on modernization. The city's government recent declaration of Kota Tua restoration project has raised private sector optimism regarding investment opportunities in Kota Tua. Tourism and entertainment as well as culture-related investment have already begun. Restaurants, bars, art galleries, and hotels are emerging in many Kota Tua's locations, all no doubt encouraged by decision to pedestrianize Kota Tua's core area. This is the table of infrastructure investment of encouraging private sector development.
According to country context analysis and sector analysis, we can see the feasibility from 6 different analyses. As part of project preparation or feasibility study, demand analysis establishes the existing and future consumer demand for goods and services to be produced by a project and provides a basis for estimating the project's economic benefits. Alternative analysis. Economic efficiency requires that the proposed project represent the most efficient option among available feasible alternatives for addressing the identified problem. In many cases, this means that the selected project should have the lowest discount cost per unit of output or outcome. Cost-benefit analysis. This analysis estimates economic benefits and costs associated with the proposed project requires establishing with the project and without project scenarios and comparing the two. Sustainability analysis. To address environmental concern, a project should pay the full cost for its use of natural and environmental resources and, where this causes long-term environmental damage, be required to undertake appropriate expenditure for mitigation. Similarly, the environmental benefits created by a project need to be valued and included in the project economic analysis. Risk and sensitivity analysis. Project economic analysis should highlight the factors that are important to the success of the project but subject to risk, the sources of risk, and possible mitigating measures. Sensitivity analysis must assess the impact of changing values of the different parameters on the project outcome. Distribution analysis. This analysis assessing how far different stakeholder groups gain or lose from a project should also be part of economic analysis. Where a project is target at a particular social group, it will be important to assess the proportion of project benefit that go to this group. After explaining the key areas of economic analysis, if we look at the demand analysis of this Kota Tua revitalization project, community demand for a conducive development, especially for middle-class business, effective economic activities, and developing creative industry to attract more tourists. For cost-benefit analysis, this revitalization project that costs 270 billion gives more economic benefits such as bringing more investment from private company to help cultural event, made Kota Tua one of main destinations that attract more tourists and more exhibitions. If we look at the distribution analysis, the involvement of all relevant stakeholders is the key to the development of the Kota Tua, which includes private property owners, public policy owners such as state-owned companies, local government agents, and citizens. In the discussion of sustainability analysis that focus on the environment, we can see that the integrated revitalization program for Kota Tua develops slums improvement initiative, including improving the quality of the environment in the areas such as waste and rubbish management. But besides the rubbish, there is also the construction of new sewage and treatment facilities drainage system from Kali Besar. And the last, in terms of risk and sensitivity analysis, successful Kota Tua revitalization can depend on improving drainage system so that they are integrated with the nearest regional system. Adjustment of existing channels is also needed to increase water flow, build ponds near the sea, and to handle current source of contamination, so it doesn't pose risk or dangerous disasters such as floods in the future.
Difference between economic analysis and financial evaluation. Project economic analysis and financial evaluation both involve the identification of project benefits and costs during the years in which they occur and converting all the future cash flows to their present value using the technique of discounting. However, the perspective and objectives of the two analyses differ. Financial evaluations carried out from the perspective of the project and considers incremental cash flows, both revenue and costs, generated by the project. The purpose of financial evaluation is to assess the ability of the project to generate adequate incremental cash flows to recover its financial costs or capital and current costs without external support. The different perspective and objectives between the two analyses mean that there are major differences in the specifications and valuation of project benefits and costs. Financial evaluation is based on market prices that are actually paid or received by a project, and it focuses on financial values of project costs and benefits. Economic analysis uses economic prices, also called shadow prices, and it focuses on economic values of project costs and benefits. Next is non-marketed outputs, inputs, and impacts. Some public sector projects produce outputs that are not transacted through market. For these types of project, the lack of market prices for their outputs, inputs, and impacts means alternative measures of economic benefits and costs are needed. Economic prices reflect the economic value of the goods and services and provide important guidance on the choice of public sector projects. Conceptually, economic price can be defined as the gain or loss in social welfare associated with consuming an additional unit of a commodity. Social welfare can be measured by the consumption of a commodities or services available to a society, whether these are sold or not sold in a market. After revitalization, now Kota Tua is surrounded by residential high-rise developments that may benefit from the attractive central location of the upcoming investment district in Kota Tua. Besides, create more public spaces and connect them in a pedestrian-friendly, so it's improved the overall accessibility of the area. The number of visitors in 2019 increased to 9.7 million compared to 2018, which has 8.6 million visitors. Before revitalization, the case of illegal parking was seen around the Kota Tua. The street vendors crammed in every corner of the Kota Tua, and the slum area to the slums that surrounding to cultural heritage area. However, that slums area and parking area has been organized at the entrance of the Fathahillah Park area through Jalan Lada and Jalan Cengkeh, making this area look more tidy. It becomes a creative hub for various communities to compete each other. From a total of 415 permanent street vendors, there are 272 traders registered.
If we look at the economic analysis and financial modalities, there are three main aspects that requires for the projects. The first one is project lending. Project lending requires physical investment such as roads, electricity, and other facilities that needed for the projects. The second one is the sector lending that aim to help the financing the projects. The third one is sector development program, that hybrid modalities that include the investment and policies program from the government. For financial modalities, Kota Tua Revitalization, Jakarta's government get the financial support from private company Sampurna Land. The budget for revitalized Kota Tua is around 270 billion rupiah. The government demand the private sector to revitalize Kota Tua area until the Kali Besar area. The facilities that get renewed are park, toilets, food tenants, pedestrian, local transportation, and drainage system. This revitalization is done by 2018 and inaugurated by the Vice Governor Sandiaga Uno.
From design and monitoring framework, it sets out the links between the long-term strategic priority for the impact of the project and the goal needed to be met in the medium term to achieve the outcome. When the medium-term goal is established, the outputs which the project may target will be identified along with the inputs and activities necessary to achieve this. Thus, the design and monitoring framework is considered as a tool to be used in identifying the parameters likely to be critical to project success, whose valuation will be important for economic analysis. In terms of design and monitoring framework, naturally, the revitalization of Kota Tua is intended to make Kota Tua as one of the centers of sustainable economic activity. These include buildings and canals that were constructed during the 17th and 18th century colonial period. Besides, serve as tourist attraction and contribute to the economic, social, and cultural growth. In fact, the revitalization in Kota Tua helps improvising both physical aspect and solving some socio-economic aspect. The revitalization covers up to 384 hectares on Sunda Kelapa to Pinangsia and 134 hectares within the walls of the Kota Tua Museum. The revitalization starts with building 200 infrastructure such as sidewalks, roads, river, etc. to help Kota Tua increasing the economic activity. The revitalization also regulates about the placement of building arrangements so that it doesn't interfere with the traffic. In case of increasing economic activity, there are several policies that implemented on the Kota Tua, such as developing the cultural aspect for tourism, developing the green space, and developing the community attraction on the side of the river.
Thank you for watching our video, and we hope that this video will widen your knowledge about Kota Tua revitalization. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.